launch trajectory and countdown net. Pad is clear.
10, 9, 8.
Launch auto sequence has started.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Go for launch.
Vehicle is supersonic.
Stage separation confirmed. Dragon, separation confirmed. Stage 1 is transonic. Landing legs have deployed. And Falcon 9 has landed.
Good morning and welcome to the NROL-149 mission launch webcast. The Falcon 9 rocket carrying this morning's payload is currently awaiting liftoff from Slick 4 East at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California, just in about 8 minutes from now. My name is Atticus Videra and I'm a propulsion engineer here at SpaceX. Today's mission carries a national security payload designed, built, and operated by the National Reconnaissance Office, or NRO. Today's mission will be SpaceX's 422nd overall launch, the 127th launch of 2024, as well as our 8th NRO launch on a Falcon 9 rocket. This mission continues the NRO's cutting-edge capability of building and developing the U.S. government's largest satellite constellation in history to deliver critical information that can only be obtained from the vantage point of space. Both the range and vehicle are currently healthy. We are on track for a liftoff at 5:19 a.m. Pacific time. It's also worth noting that we will not be showing any Stage 2 or payload deployment views at the request of our customer today. But for now, let's meet the vehicle and learn just a little bit more about the most flown U.S. launch vehicle ever, the Falcon 9 rocket. Falcon 9 is a two-stage rocket developed and manufactured by SpaceX, known for its safe, reliable, and cost-effective access to space. We just heard on the nets that engine chill has begun. Falcon 9 is also the first and currently the only orbital class rocket capable of reflight. Starting at the top of the vehicle is the payload fairing. The payload fairing is a protective shell that encases the payload or satellite being sent to space. And the fairings are made of a carbon composite material and have about a 17-foot diameter. And this creates the space to accommodate something the size of an average-sized fire truck. The fairing is made up of two halves and will separate and jettison away from the vehicle, exposing the payload once Falcon 9 reaches space. Continuing.
Stage 1 RP1 load is complete.
Just heard that we are beginning to load fuel on Stage 1. We just completed fuel loading on Stage 1. Continuing down the vehicle, we do have the second stage. The second stage is powered by a single Merlin vacuum, or MVAC, engine, and this engine is optimized to perform in the vacuum of space. After stage separation, the MVAC engine will ignite and carry the payload to its final orbit. The second stage is connected to Falcon 9 first stage by the black composite inner stage, and this houses the MVAC engine and the systems that decouple the two stages during stage separation. Below the second stage is the first stage, and this is powered by 9 Merlin engines. These 9 Merlin engines provide the initial thrust to lift Falcon 9 off the ground and through the lower, thicker parts of the atmosphere. The lower part of the vehicle has 8 engines arranged around one center engine, and they are all collectively held in place by a structure we refer to as the octaweb. Each of these Merlin 1D engines delivers just about 190,000 pounds of thrust at sea level, and combined they give Falcon 9 a total 1.7 million pounds of thrust. Now, after stage separation, Stage 1, also called the booster, will return to Earth for
Falcon
recovery.
9 tanks are pressurizing for thrown back retract.
We will, of course, return the first stage to Earth for recovery and reuse on a future mission. And that will be landing on our drone ship, which you can see on your screen now. And the drone ship today is, of course, I Still Love You, currently stationed in the Pacific Ocean. Now we do land the vehicle with a combination of the Merlin sea level engines and the 4 titanium grid fins located near the top of the booster.
Turn back retract has started.
These will guide the vehicle during its re-entry and landing. Now you might have just heard that the strongback has begun to retract. Of course, the strongback, sometimes referred to as the TE, is that large truss structure that is stationed next to the rocket. Probably a little hard to see through the fog this morning, but we do have clamp arms, which will open up around the top of the second stage, just below the fairing, and those should be retracted at this point. Now the first stage is connected to a launch mount at the base of the TE, but the TE is hinged and does retract away from the vehicle in preparation for launch. The TE is designed to transport, raise, and support Falcon 9 at the launch pad. It's also equipped with umbilicals or flexible lines that are used to route the vehicle's fluids, power, and telemetry from the ground systems to the rocket and to the payload, and this is until Falcon 9 will switch to internal power and clear the pad. You might be able to see there the TE is now reclined away from the vehicle in preparation for liftoff. Now we're just getting towards the end of propellant loading, so at this point both the first and second stages are nearly fully loaded with 1 million pounds.
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
There we go, we just heard stage 1 has finished LOX loading. Stage 2 should wrap up about a minute from now. The combined total propellant is about 1 million pounds of rocket-grade kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen. You might have noticed that there are some white clouds forming around the vehicle, and these clouds are comprised of the chilled gas above the LOX tank, and we vent that every now and then just to maintain pressures in the tank as needed. And that gas, of course, mixes with the warmer California air, and it does condense to form those clouds. So again, coming up on liquid oxygen loading completion on the second stage. Should be wrapping up in around 10 seconds. Just waiting on that confirmation that LOX loading is completed on the second stage. But after that point...
Stage 2 LOX load is complete.
There we go, we just heard that confirmation. So the next major milestone is, of course, the startup state of Falcon 9. And that should occur in around 30 seconds. And this means
Gas launch closeouts.
This means that the rocket's internal flight computers have taken over the launch countdown. Following that, just inside of T-minus 2 seconds, we will light those M1D engines for liftoff. So far, the NRO payload continues to be healthy, and the Falcon 9 team is tracking no issues on the rocket.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
And with that, Falcon 9 has entered the startup state, so the internal flight computers have now taken over the launch countdown. Now we're just waiting for our go from our launch director.
Launch director, go for launch.
And there we go. We just heard the launch director give the final go for today's mission. At just around T-minus 30 seconds, all systems are go for launch of Falcon 9.
T-minus 30 seconds.
So for now, let's sit back and let's watch as Falcon 9 takes the NROL-149 mission to space.
T-minus 15 seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition. And liftoff of Falcon 9. Go SpaceX, go NROL-149.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
Vehicle is pitching downrange.
T plus 30 seconds into flight, Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Slick 4 East at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California at 5:19 a.m. Pacific time. Coming up shortly here, we will be
Power and
passing
telemetry are nominal.
we will be passing through max Q, and this is the point in the mission profile where the vehicle experiences the greatest amount of aerodynamic
Vehicle is
stress.
supersonic.
Just ahead of max Q, we do throttle those M1D engines down.
Max Q.
And there's that call out for max Q, so we have now throttled the M1Ds back up to full power. Coming up next, we do have 3 events in quick succession, starting with MECO, followed by stage separation and SES-1. Main engine cutoff, or MECO, is where all 9 of those M1D engines shut down to slow the vehicle down.
MVAC chill.
Just heard that we are beginning the Ascent chill for the MVAC engine. Of course, we do shut the 9 M1Ds down in preparation for stage separation. And then following that, the first and second stages will separate. After that point, the MVAC engine on the second stage will light, and that's sometimes referred to as second engine start 1 or SES-1. Now this burn on the second stage will last several minutes, and we use it to propel the second stage and the payload to our desired orbit. And in addition to those 3 major events, the fairing halves will separate from the second stage just about a minute after SES-1. Keep an eye out for those events coming up in just around 10 seconds.
Main engine cut off.
Stage separation confirmed.
MVAC ignition.
And there we go. We just heard those 3 callouts back to back. Again, those were MECO stage separation and second engine start 1. And again, as a reminder, we will not have any second stage views or payload views today at the request of our customer. Coming up shortly, we should hear a callout for fairing separation.
Fairing separation confirmed.
And there we go. We just heard that call out of fairing separation. Both the fairing halves supporting today's mission are also flight proven. One half is flying for its 9th time, and the other half is flying for its 10th time today. And of course, we do attempt to retrieve the fairing halves for reuse as well once they fall back to Earth. And today we will be recovering them with our vessel Go Beyond, currently stationed in the Pacific Ocean. We are just under T plus 4 minutes into today's mission. The next major milestone coming up in just over 2 minutes is the entry burn of the Falcon 9 booster as it continues its journey towards the Of Course I Still Love You drone ship, which is currently stationed in the Pacific Ocean as well. To start that entry burn, we do light 3 of the M1D engines. This is similar to pumping the brakes to slow down the vehicle, and this helps us to reduce the stresses as we re-enter the Earth's atmosphere. And this, of course, improves our ability to recover and reuse our first stages. Now, during this entry burn, Falcon 9 is decelerating by firing its Merlin engines, but it is still moving very fast. This causes the vehicle to fly through the exhaust gases of the Merlin engines, and this deposits a layer of soot on the vehicle's surface. Now that soot comes from the carbon-based fuel that Falcon 9 uses, and with each flight, that soot builds up just a little bit more on the outside of the vehicle. You can follow along the trajectory of the vehicle in the bottom left side of your screen. As you can see during this coast phase right now, we do just have a bit of a dark view from our cameras. Today's Falcon 9 booster is flying for the 22nd time. This booster has previously supported Sentinel-6A, DART, Transporter 7, 2 other NROL missions, among many, many others. And again, the payload fairings are also flight proven, flying for the 9th and 10th times today. Of course, reusability is key to lowering the cost of spaceflight, and that enables more investment in critical space infrastructure, which in today's case is for national security. And while this booster is on its 22nd trip to space, we are working towards qualifying our fleet of Falcon boosters and fairings to support up to 40 missions each. And increasing Falcon's flight count will provide valuable information on repeated reuse, as well as being a critical element for making life multiplanetary with Starship. Just starting to get some views of the sunrise here from the first stage up in space.
Stage 1 entry burn, start up.
And there's confirmation that we have begun the entry burn. So as you can see in the telemetry on the bottom left side of your screen, we are now rapidly slowing the vehicle down in preparation for atmospheric re-entry.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
There's confirmation of the end of entry burn. The Merlin engines on the first stage are optimized for sea level. They achieve just about 190,000 pounds of thrust. Coming up next, we do have...
Stage 1 FTS is saved.
We do have the landing burn on the first stage in just about a minute from now. And this is the final burn the Falcon 9 booster undergoes, and this reduces just the remaining speed of the vehicle to allow for a soft touchdown on our drone ship. You might be able to see those titanium grid fins have now deployed and are helping guide the vehicle back towards the landing site.
Stage 1 transonic.
Stage 2 FTS is saved.
Coming up on the landing burn in just around 20 seconds or so. Again, keep an eye on that telemetry in the bottom left side of your screen.
Stage 1 landing burn.
Stage 2 terminal guidance.
And there we go. The landing burn has begun. We're now just waiting for Falcon 9 to land on Of Course I Still Love You in the Pacific Ocean, which you can now see there on your screen.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy. Stage 1 landing confirmed.
And there we go. With that confirmation, that marks a successful landing of another Falcon 9 rocket. That was the 22nd launch and landing for this particular stage. And this landing marks SpaceX's 384th recovery of an orbital class rocket, and that includes first stage landings. First stage landings for both Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavies. And we did just hear that MVAC has shut down as well. This was the 127th mission for SpaceX this year. And great news there, we do have a nominal orbit insertion, but again, as a reminder, we will not be showing any stage 2 or deployment views at the request of our customer. So with the successful landing and orbital insertion for Falcon 9, we will be bringing today's webcast to a close. Thank you to the National Reconnaissance Office for entrusting us with today's mission. If you're interested in more launch coverage, please be sure to check out spacex.com/launches, as well as follow at SpaceX on X for the most up-to-date information. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you again soon.